not only these important players that are emerging are developing countries, but there are also countries that were in the receiving end of the not so equitable, self-restraining U.S. posture in the post-war. How do you see these players interpreting the rules of the game that were more infringing, more constraining, more unequitable, more hierarchical?
You know, I think that if one considers rising powers, in particular, I would point to India, Brazil, and China. There is a distinct sense on the economic front that the rules have been stacked in favor of the OECD world, the advanced industrial democracies, in some cases post-industrial democracies now, and that there have been insufficient safeguards in many of the trade rules. There's also a sense, particularly when it comes to agriculture, that although this, in some cases, the BRICS, so-called BRICS, are divided on some of these issues, that there's an acute sense of vulnerability. That's particularly the case of India, perhaps less so in the case of Brazil, that trade liberalization in that field would be very detrimental to India's economic performance. I think more broadly there is a sense that in some quarters that there are double standards when it comes to intervention and the use of force around the world. And the countries that I've mentioned have also either been in or had a foot within the G77 and non-aligned movement traditions, and there's a sense of in a sense two sets of rules where you've had this sort of northern OECD zone of peace, and then where relations have been quite strong and there's been a lot of mutual benefit, but that countries in the developing world in many cases have been on the receiving end of intervention and have had, as I said, the rules stacked against them. What's curious about the Obama administration is that it's talked about the need to help integrate rising powers, and sort of borrowing a line that the Bush administration used to refer to China, or their aspirations for China, to try to make it a quote-unquote responsible stakeholder. I think that some of the rising countries, including Brazil, certainly India, I know, is a bit finds that a bit patronizing as a concept, because their attitude is, we've always been very responsible stakeholders. Thank you very much. It's you guys that haven't been that responsible in many ways, and who are you to define these things? What the Obama administration has not yet clarified, nor I think have some of the other more established powers, is the degree to which they simply want to have this Western order that then everybody else comes into without changing the rules of the game, or is this a situation where we're actually going to negotiate with you, and there's going to be a little bit of give and take on both sides? And I think that that remains to be seen. I think it's going to be a much more arduous long-term process of coming up with rules together, and norms and rules and principles together, as opposed to simply inviting rising powers into the fold of this unchanged order.
Okay. You have a question? Yeah, that's our time. So.
Okay, well, it was a great pleasure. I hope it was useful.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Great. Okay. Awesome.